Albert AWOL, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home. This episode of Welcome Home is brought to you by DVC Resale Market. Thank you for joining us on episode 295 of Welcome Home, a Disney Parks and Vacation Club podcast. I'm Tom. I'm here with Trevor. How's it going, Trevor?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. We got a couple more episodes here. We finally set up a venue now for our 300th episode. I know that you can't be there, unfortunately, Trevor, but you'll be there in virtual...
In electronic spirit.
In electronic spirit. Yes. If you do want to come to our event, we are doing our 300th episode live. We're doing it at a place called Old Mecklenburg Brewery here in Charlotte, North Carolina. We're going to have food, we're going to have giveaways, we're going to do a live show. Of course, it is free. We're not charging anybody to come to this. So if you are interested in joining us, feel free to come. Bring your spouse, bring your kids, whatever. It's a family friendly place. We do have an event out there that you do need to register for tickets because we do have a limited amount, but again, they are free. So if you go into our Facebook group, Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, or you can email us too, and I'll send the link to you. I'm working on a simpler link to send out to everybody.
Invite or the event, yeah.
Yes, we'll announce a simpler link, something probably like welcomehome.com/300 or something like that. But once we get that set up, you can go in and register for the event. Again, it's going to be March 29th from noon to 3 p.m. In Charlotte, North Carolina at Old Mecklenburg Brewery. I know I say it's a brewery, but it is a family-friendly place. So it's not. We have a private room, and it's going to be a good time. So if you can join us, we'd love to have you. But unfortunately, Trevor will be there in digital spirit, as you said. So yeah. So I'm excited. What's that?
In the meantime, though, we've got more pressing things to talk about right now.
Oh gosh, yeah, we do. Yeah. So I'm actually really excited because I did this podcast a while ago, and Brian and Sam, I've talked to Brian now for I don't know how long. I mean, I've known Brian, but so you guys are Sam and Brian from DCL Duo are on to talk cruises because, as you guys know, I am going on the Disney Treasure in I guess like 2 months here. Just about 2 months.
Yeah, and just before I'm in Disney, which we still need to talk about that. But
yes, we do need to figure that out. That's correct.
It's coming up quick though for you.
Yeah. So I'm delighted to have you guys on here because despite my many years of doing a Disney podcast and my deep knowledge of parks, I am absolutely clueless when it comes to the cruises. So, because this will be my first one. So, for those that are unfamiliar with you guys, you want to talk about your show a little bit and just introduce yourselves? That'd be awesome.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, first, thanks for having us on. We love talking to you guys, and so thanks for having us on. And
I can't believe it's your first cruise, Tom. That's like crazy to me. That's blowing my mind.
Well, so my daughter is turning 7 this year, and it's kind of finally feeling like it's in the right spot to bring her, and plus we're like so consumed always with going to Disney World for vacation every year, right? So it's like, we got all our DVC points and we go to Disney every year, and it's just like, okay, well, there's no time for a cruise. And so this time we decided we might still go to Disney, who knows, this year, but we decided to swap it out this year for the parks. But yeah, I don't know. We just wanted to wait for my daughter to be old enough that she was going to enjoy it more. We felt like,
Yeah. Well, to tell you a little bit about us, so we are the DCL Duo podcast and vlog. We started our show in 2020, right before, a little thing called COVID. So it was a great time to start a cruising podcast, right when cruising was about to shut down. But we've been going strong now for like 5 years, and we're actually 500 plus episodes in. We do 2 shows a week. We have a live YouTube show that we do typically on Monday nights at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And we do a recorded show once a week as well. And we talk Disney Cruise Line news. We talk trip reports. We have topical shows that we cover. We also like to venture into, comparing other cruise lines to Disney Cruise Line, as well as covering adventures by Disney trips as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we do. We have a website. We're on all the, of course, podcast channels. We have a blog as well. But yeah, we try to cover sort of everything in the Disney cruising space. Brian,
I have to say you guys are prolific content creators. We started before you and we're just getting to 300 and you guys are at 500 already. Like, you destroyed us on content.
Yeah.
Well, and we just started a new show. So, we just launched a new channel on to our podcast called Disney Cruise Line in a Minute. And we're going to be putting out about 3-minute-ish episodes, kind of breaking down a curriculum around Disney Cruise Line, a place where people can go to learn quickly to make decisions about, which itineraries and staterooms and all those questions that we get constantly from people in email and such, is a way to kind of build that curriculum for them from a 101 to a 401 level. They'll have one spot to go and look at that. So it's out there now. The trailer and the very first episode are out there on Apple Podcasts, and then we're putting them out on YouTube and Instagram as well. So yeah,
that sounds like exactly what I need, because I know so little. Here's the thing. I do, we'll talk on the show about like news and stuff like that, right? Which is cool and all, right? Like I know what's going on with the ships, but like all of the minutia of doing a cruise, right? Because like, and here's the thing, my family and my wife's family are so used to relying on us for knowledge of Disney things
right.
that like everyone's like looking to us to be like, okay, well, what do we do with the 2.5-year-old? Like, how do we deal with the nursery? I'm like, I don't know. Okay, we'll figure it out, right? We'll read a website. So, but yeah, so for you guys, so I'm going on the Treasure, which I know you guys have gone on already.
Yep.
I'm going on the Treasure. We're doing a 7-night cruise, and it is beginning of May. So I think want to say it's May 3rd. And out of Port Canaveral, of course. And
you're doing the Eastern Caribbean, I believe, because we're doing the cruise 2 weeks before yours, and ours is in Eastern Caribbean. Yeah.
We're Cozumel.
Oh, no, you're doing Western. Okay.
We're doing Western, yeah. So we're doing Cozumel.
Yeah.
And then I think it's, where's the other one?
Grand Cayman, yeah.
Yeah. And then Jamaica. And then, of course, the Castaway Cay, right? So, yeah, so I listen. It's funny because I've been talking about this a lot. So my father-in-law and my mother-in-law are paying for this trip. It's a trip. It's a big family trip, and we're all going together. And so because of that, I wanted to do like some like extra stuff, right? And so I went to, and I have no status, right? So here's the thing that bothers me a little bit. It's funny because everyone's asking me like, wait, you have all these DVC points. How you don't get status on Disney Cruise Line? I'm like, no. Like the two things are not, but I couldn't book. There were a lot of things I wanted to book that I couldn't book. I tried to book we were trying to book one of the nice restaurants for my in-laws, and they were gone by the time we got to book stuff. And then I also really, so I read too, I wanted to do one of the private cabanas on the island. And those were way gone.
That's not happening.
That's not happening. So the dining, we can talk about the dining. I think you'll be so just to give you a little bit of troubleshooting, when you get on the ship, there will be a place that's designated. You'll be able to see it in the app. It'll start usually around noon or 1 o'clock, probably around 1 o'clock. And it'll have a designated place to make dining changes or adult dining changes.
Great.
You go wherever that is and go right away, and you should be able to get. Now, I say adult dining, not brunch. Brunch is harder to get. But if you're looking for dinner reservations for Apollo or for Enchanté, you'll probably, as long as you're flexible on which day, since you have a 7-night cruise, then you probably won't have too much trouble getting that.
And Tom, you do, to be fair, you do get a little bit of something from Disney Cruise Line for all those DVC points, because DVC members get to book ahead of the general public for the itinerary. So you get to save a little money off the upfront cost of the cruise, the closer to opening day pricing. So you get that. But
I get that.
Yeah. But Disney Cruise Line, well, to be fair, most of us in the Castaway Club really only the biggest benefit is our ability to spend money with the cruise line earlier. So
they give you the privilege of spending more money on
exactly. But sort of starting at the beginning, right? Like since you've already booked the cruise, you've got that already like done. So we're not going to be talking about like selecting your cruise and all of that. But like the important thing for people to know after you've booked a cruise is when your onboard booking window opens, and that's to book your excursions or your adult dining and drink tastings and things like that. And that is based on your Castaway Club status. And so if you're a new cruiser, you're the absolute last group to book stuff. That doesn't, but the tip I always like to tell people, that doesn't mean you won't be able to get stuff. A lot of space for, not all, but for a lot of the activities that you can book is actually held back for onboard booking. And so, and so when you get on board, like, don't hesitate to ask, hey, like, where do I go to book X, Y, and Z? Or to look in the app, they will often have additional spots. And so you look in the app and you'll look for onboard fun or adult dining, and you might be able to book stuff even in the app once you are hooked up to the ship's Wi-Fi. So actually even in the port.
Oh, nice.
I was going to say, one, you can attach the ship's Wi-Fi while you're waiting in the terminal, and then you can set up the app and be scrolling through and looking at your activities and that sort of stuff. And on day one, usually they list in the app where the dining changes are going to be. So if you can get on the app and see the app and start looking through the activities and stuff, there's usually a notation in there around like, go to this place to change dining. Just get on board, and then if you're the problem will come for you, Tom, if you're looking for like, there's a dining thing I didn't get for adult dining, there's something I want to change in main dining, there's a shore excursion, there's a spa treatment, whatever it is. Like, the more you have to stack up on day one, the more you're going to be running all over the ship trying to do that. And so we always say, like, pick the thing that's most important. So adult dining is usually a hard get. Not dinners, as Sam said, but brunches, for instance. If you really wanted a Palo brunch, you got to head straight there and be one of the first in line and hope that, it's not fully booked up.
Okay.
Yeah. And so there's also a strategy that's called divide and conquer. If you've got a big enough party, you just kind of send people to different places around the ship to get things taken care of. The other thing I'll tell you,
old fast passes, strategies.
I was say, are you guys talking about fast passes?
The other tip I'd give you ahead of the cruise is make sure that all your reservations are linked across the parties you're sailing with. If it sounds like you're sailing with friends, because then they will put you all in the same dining rotation if that's what you want to be.
Yes, they're all together.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah.
So my father-in-law had a travel agent actually book it for us. And so and we're all connected. So I can see all of the plans on there, and everybody's on the same one. So and truthfully, honestly, I didn't, in my mind, I was like, oh, the dining should be easy to the premium dining should be easy to do, right? Like, I'll do it because I did it on a Royal Caribbean boat and it was no problem, right? And there was lots available, and I was like, oh, it should be like that on Disney. It's like, no, not at all. It was all gone by the time I got there. So.
Well, that's the real difference between there's only 2 adult-only restaurants on most of the Disney ships and only 1 on 2 of the Disney ships, right? So that's the difference. With Royal, you've got every ship's got 6 different specialty restaurants, and so it's a very different experience and demand on what you're booking. And so, but dinner, like I said, dinner is easier to get. The other thing I always like to tell people, especially first-time cruisers, is you can book nothing and still have an amazing, amazing cruise. Like, there are so many activities on board going on that they're not reservations, that are not pre-book, right? So you don't have to actually book anything ahead of time. The one exception is really excursions. If you want, excursions at your ports, that's something you really do have to book ahead of time, either through the cruise line or through a private, charter.
And truthfully, the main reason why we're trying to book other things is just because since my in-laws are paying for the trip, we want to do nice things for them because they, just to say thank you to them. So like, we're doing like some spa stuff for them, and we thought it might be nice for them to get away from all of their grandchildren for an evening and, go and have an adult dinner by themselves. So I guess this brings me to a question though. Which of the restaurants do you recommend? Have you guys eaten at both of them? I mean,
of course we have. Yeah,
of course. I don't even know why am I asking these dumb questions to you? Of course you've eaten it.
Yeah. So Tom, so in terms of like, you're talking about Enchanté versus Palo Steakhouse. Okay. Correct. So here's how this really breaks down from a decision standpoint. If you are an adventurous eater who enjoys fine dining, then Enchanté is fabulous, but you're talking about food that has like, foams and deconstruction and, that kind of stuff. And so if that's not
Victoria and Albert.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that's not me at all. But
sounds like more my kind of place than yours.
Yeah. That's your Trevor.
And in fact, the chef for Victoria Albert's is one of the executive chefs for Enchanté. And and Remy. And so that's fine dining, and it's going to set you back too. I mean, you're talking about, easily it can be a $500 to $750 experience for two people, with wine and all of that sort of stuff. The difference is that's, on land, that bill is going to be much higher. So you're getting some discount, but you got to be into fine dining. You got to be adventurous, or else you're going to walk away feeling disappointed and like you didn't get the value for the money spent. Palo Steakhouse is just a good adult meal.
Okay.
Right. It's going to be a quality steak or, Italian dish. At dinner, they don't do like, pastas and spaghettis and stuff. It's going to be like, raviolis with like pumpkin or, stuff like that. But there's a lot of great stuff on that menu, and it's, a very inexpensive price. It's, to do the price fix menu is like $50. And
that's what we're looking at.
I think it's $60 now, Brian. But
okay, but still, but it's a very good menu.
It's a very good value.
60, but okay. But anyway, and then you can do a la carte and get out of there for like I tend to order a la carte, and it's not that much more than the set price, right? So because they give you if
one person can order a la carte and the other person can order the price fixed. Yeah.
So that is the meal we steer people to the most if they just want to have a really nice meal on board, because it can satisfy all comers. So I would say head for Palo. Palo is a great dinner. It's a great experience. Enchanté is just a different level of dining.
This is for my in-laws, not for me. But I mean, if it were for me, I'd be like, Palo would be more up my alley than. But even then, I also don't typically eat red meat, so like steakhouse is like I don't know. But I'm sure they have other dishes.
Yeah, they have plenty of other stuff. It's actually it's Italian.
They have a fabulous Dover sole.
Yeah, they have some really great dishes that are not steak. They just happen to have additional on the Wish and the Treasure. It's Palo Steakhouse. On the other ships, it's Palo, and so they have additional like higher end cuts of steak on those two ships. So it's really nice, great menu all across. Like it's even if you're not a red meat eater, absolutely.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I do want to ask you guys a spoiler-free review of the Disney Treasure in like a few, like just like I say spoiler-free because I still. My wife is like, I was like, watch any YouTube videos of the Treasure? She's like, no, I want to like be surprised. But I also kind of am interested to just see from you guys, the experts. Like, I'm assuming you've been on probably every Disney boat at this point, right? Or ship. I'm sorry, ship.
Yes. Yes.
But, so I would love to hear just kind of your thoughts on the Treasure, because and part of the reason, by the way, why I wanted to do the Treasure is because, as you know, big parks fan, and so much of the park stuff, all the stuff on that boat is basically parks oriented, and that's kind of why I was really excited to do this ship in particular. But I would love to hear just kind of your thoughts on it without, ruining any special things for me.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Treasure is the best ship in the fleet right now, like hands down. It is the theme park lovers' ideal ship. Honestly, like you couldn't choose a better ship for someone like you, Tom. So that's
good to know.
Yeah, I mean, the details are just phenomenal. The entertainment is top notch. It has the two best shows in the Disney fleet, in my opinion, the stage shows. Those are Moana and Beauty and the Beast. I've
heard Moana's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, don't miss any of them. I would say don't miss Seize the Adventure either, which is the usually first or second night show, and it's a shorter show. It's like a 30 35-minute show, whereas the others are about an hour to an hour and 10 minutes. But yeah, it's just a phenomenal ship. Obviously, you know, the Haunted Mansion parlors on
That's
there.
What I'm most excited for.
Yeah, you're gonna love that. But then there's like, we got to give you the tip that Brian and I try to give anyone who's going on the Treasure is, don't sleep on the events that involve Coriander and Sage. These are two new sort of characters that are on board the ship, and they do some really fun retelling of Indiana Jones and of Aladdin, and they do kind of a Jungle Cruise themed game show thing in the Grand Hall. I don't want to give too many details on any of those three events.
No, that's awesome.
They are just like fantastic. So I would say make a point to go to those when you see like there's going to be it's a retelling of Aladdin, a Indiana Jones themed thing. You'll see these things in the app. I'm not going to give you all like the descriptions, but yeah, go to all of these things. Yeah.
I'm like checking the app every day just to look at how many days are left. Even I'm not counting down in my head. I just look at it and go, I watch all the numbers flip by and I'm like, ooh, all right, 70 days left or whatever it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But okay, well that's good to know, because I've seen really cool things about the Moana the show, and then I've heard the Haunted Mansion bar is amazing. But so I'm very excited for that, and I'm also excited for my daughter to be in the kids club too. And it's funny because I was talking to my sister-in-law, and she's like, "So do we just like drop the kids off there and then like leave?" And I was like, "I think so. Like we just drop them off, they go off and do their thing, and we go do our thing, right?" But it's all those little logistical things that like I don't really I'm still learning about, right? So what. Yeah, I do have a really important question. Am I allowed to go down the slide to the Oceaneer Club? Am I allowed to do that as an adult?
During open house? Yeah.
Okay, so I can
only
if
only if the entire club is in open house mode, which means you really want to do it on the day one. Okay. So on day one, when you embarkation day, after you board, most of the kids' spaces will be in open house mode for everybody to come and tour them, and meaning the entire space will be in open house mode. In order to go down the kids' club slide as an adult, or really as a person who is not 3 to 10 years old and going into the kids' club, you have to go when the entire club is in open house mode.
Okay. Well, then
that's the realist question that we're going to have.
Yeah.
The most important question I have.
But I think I'll let Brian talk to you about the logistics of like check-in, check-out.
I'd love to know that. Yeah.
Well, so depending on the age of the kids, right? So if they're
my daughter's 7 and my niece is 5. We're going to be 5, yeah.
Right. So you don't have any kids sailing with you who are like 11 or older, basically.
No. So we have a 2.5. I think she. Gosh, I should probably know how old my niece is, but she's like between 4 and 5 at this point, and my daughter will be 7. So
okay. Yeah, so for the Oceaneers Club, which is where they're going to head, right, you as the parent can walk them down, check them in. On the first day, make sure you complete all the registration forms in the online check-in. So your online check-in should be coming up fairly soon. And when that happens, that's when you'll go online and you'll provide the myriad of documents you need to sail, passports, birth certificates, whatever, and upload photos for the ship so that when you arrive, basically they'll compare you to your photo, and that's the photo they'll use on board for security if you embark and disembark from the ship. And so as a part of that process, you can complete the registration for the kids club before you even step on the ship, which I highly recommend because it's not a light process. And so
I will definitely do that. I like to get everything done ahead of time. So
so there's going to be a bunch of forms to fill out and authorizations to sign and all this stuff. As a part of that, you can designate people in your sailing party to check your kids out of the kids club. And you set like a password that you can share. When you get on board, and if they're all pre-registered, what you'll do is head actually at check-in. Even before you get on board, they'll give your kids a special Oceaneers band. Or if they're bringing their own magic band, they can code that. And so that's what gets them in and out of the club. So you'll take them to the Oceaneers Club. If you go on deck 3 where the slide is, they have a little desk. They'll ask your kiddo to tap their band, Mickey to Mickey, verify that they've got all the information they need, and then they get to go down the slide into the kids club. You can walk down to deck 2. There's more desks down there. If there's a line at desk, the guest services on deck 3 where you check your kids in. Once they're in the kids club, they can track where they are in the club using the band, so they kind of know based on the NFC, like where the kids are. And when it's time to pick them up, you head downstairs to deck 2. You go to one of the desks, you tell them who you're there to pick up. They will find them, bring them to the front, have them tap their band, ask you for your password, and you can exit. I don't think your kids are quite old enough, but maybe for your listeners out there, you can give them checkout privileges. I think once they hit age 8, we think it is. You can say it's okay if they want to check themselves out of the club, like they can do that, in which case you don't have to go pick them up. I'll also say, if you get comfortable with it, Tom, your kids an adult does not have to be present to check a kid into the club if they're all set up. So you can take your kid, you can have your kids go to the kids club and go in. When Nathan was younger, we always took him. So I can totally understand.
I can't imagine letting my 7-year-old just go wander around the boat and go.
Yeah, we didn't do that. We didn't do that until Nathan was closer to 9 and he was showing a lot of like responsibility.
9, I could see.
Yeah. And he had a phone by that point where he could text us and tell us where he was. The other thing I'll tell you, Tom, is do you have early dinner or late dinner?
5:45 is what we have. So early, I guess.
Yeah. So I think they have now fleet-wide reinstituted the practice where folks, they call it dine and play. So
I saw that. Yes. Yeah. We talked about it on the show, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. So your servers will make sure the kids get fed first, or you can ask them to make sure the kids get fed first. And then counselors from the youth clubs come in to dining.
Only in late dining, though.
Oh, I thought it was early dining,
no.
too.
It's only in late dining that dine and play is now available fleet-wide, but you can still have your server, like still the servers will bring the kids' food first, and you can duck out of dinner to go drop your kid off at the kids' club in between courses and then come back to finish your dinner. So it's really easy to do, especially because the kids' club is so, centrally located.
Okay. So you guys really love the treasure, though. The treasure was great. I mean, you think I'm going to enjoy it as my first cruise?
I mean,
oh my God.
We got off. So the whole Wish class fleet is, controversial within the Disney community, although I think the Wish has started to redeem herself a bit as more people have sailed on her and really enjoyed her. I think there's always the old diehards that just don't love the layout of the Wish class ships, and that's fine. That is what it is. The old ships still exist, although, it's kind of sooner or later, some of those ships will start to get retired. But the treasure is everything that the Wish should have been. That's how I view it. So it's clear they didn't skimp much on costs. Yeah. It's clear that they just invested tons of money into spaces, design, theming. So like the whole thing just feels like the Wish amped up. So we were, and different colors, different theming, right? All that sort of stuff. But it just feels like, if you had been on the Wish, Tom, and been in Hyperspace Lounge and then went on the Treasure and went to the Haunted Mansion Parlor, there is zero comparison. Just in the investment alone that is apparent in what they put into the Haunted Mansion Parlor, it is just stunning. So so this ship is truly, in our opinion, the crown jewel of the fleet right now, and it helps that she's doing these 7-night sailings because you get more time to experience all the great stuff on board.
Yeah, and I know Trevor wants me to bring some merch back from the Haunted Mansion bar.
Yeah,
they have some cool stuff in there from what I've seen. So I'm excited.
They do run out of. If you're interested in the like tiki mugs, right? There's a couple of different tiki mugs that they have, and they do sometimes run out of them. So I would definitely, if you're wanting one, try and get it towards the beginning of your cruise. But one warning, Haunted Mansion Parlor is going to be packed on like the first day when it opens, which will be at 4 in the afternoon. It will be packed. It will not be packed throughout your entire cruise, but it will be packed that first day. So
are they still doing a 45-minute limit too, or was that just early on? Because I remember seeing that.
They never really enforced it. So,
okay.
Yeah, because it hasn't really been an issue. Because it's 7-night sailings, I think that's why it hasn't really been an issue. Yeah.
Can you tell me about Pirate Night? Is that a thing that happens on the Disney? I've read about it.
It is.
I'm like, okay, so here's an important question. Do you guys dress like pirates for Pirate Night?
We
have, but we don't usually, to be perfectly honest. But I would say it's like probably 50-50 or 60-40, like more probably 60-40, probably more people than not wear something, right? Like they might wear like a pirate t-shirt. Like you'll have people in full on pirate costumes to people just wearing their regular clothes and then putting on the bandana that they give you in your stateroom. They'll give you a Mickey pirate bandana. And then you have people who are wearing regular clothes. So I'd say like we have done like the full on, like I wore an crocodile onesie.
TikTok. You were TikTok.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I like
that. For Pirate Night. And Brian was a full-on pirate. That was our first cruise. But then most of the time, we actually like to do our adult dining on Pirate Night because we're not huge fans of the Pirate Night menu.
But that's personal preference.
That's personal
people
preference.
Out there who really like it. So yeah.
Okay.
And we're not big on. We've done so many Pirate Nights that it's like, we've done it. We've done it.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Pirate Night, I would say, especially on the Wish class ships, so in the Wish and the Treasure, Pirate Night is actually really, really good. Like go to there's 2 deck parties. There'll be an earlier deck party that is a more Mickey centric one. That's a little more of the for the kids. And then there's the later one that is the Rockin' Parlay party. And it is, and that's when fireworks happen is in the later deck party. I would say go to both if you can. They're both really fun. And there will be throughout the day, there'll be like pirate trivia and the characters will be in their pirate wear starting usually sometime in sort of mid-afternoon. So if you want to get pictures with characters in their pirate wear, that's going to be the only day that's going to happen. The secret to finding out when Pirate Night is in the app. If you look at the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique bookings, it's the day where the Pirate Makeover is bookable. That's Pirate Night, because the only day that Pirate Makeovers are available is Pirate Night.
So yeah, we booked. So we've been waiting to do Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique with my daughter for the longest time.
Oh, fun.
And part of the reason why we wanted to do it in the parks. I've talked about this on the show before. There's something about 100% humidity and 95 degrees in Florida that I feel like it's not going to be fun for my daughter to walk around in after Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Like
I think that's fair. Yeah.
And so I was like, let's do it on the ship because then we're mostly in a air conditioned area and then it won't be miserable for her. She can enjoy it. So we booked it for both my niece and my daughter, and they're going to do it finally on the ship. So that was one I was able to get, which I was pleased with. I was concerned that I wasn't going to be able to get that, but that one wasn't too bad. But that's good to know about Pirate Night. I think I might go a little. I might lean into that one pretty hard. I'm at least going to wear an eye patch. That's gonna. You
should. Listen. There, you will not be out of place. You will absolutely like I said, it completely runs the gamut. You will see more people will be doing something.
Yeah. Don't let us 30 plus cruises on Disney Cruise Line salty souls over here who are like, I've done the pirate.
Been there, done that. Pirate is stupid.
We don't think it's stupid. It's just not like our jam.
Also, make sure you check out that pirate parlay deck party.
Oh yeah, okay.
It is
the 10 o'clock one.
It is fun for adults. It's fun for kids. The music is great. It's it's a different deck party than they have on the other ships, and so it's really, really great. And fireworks at sea too. You can't sleep on fireworks at sea.
I'll tell you right now, my daughter's not making it past 8 p.m., but we'll try. We tried to do fireworks this past year at Disney World, and we tried to do Happily Ever After, and she made it to the end and then immediately passed out. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we'll be able to get to that, but we'll try. We're definitely going to try. She'll be a little older.
You just do the 7:30 deck party. So you'll have your dinner, then head straight from dinner to the 7:30 p.m. Mickey's Pirates in the Caribbean deck party. It's only half hour. And so it'll be done by 8. If not, you can leave a couple minutes before, but that one is the one that doesn't have fireworks. But I would do that deck party, especially with the younger kids. And then if you can sneak out at 10, or if your wife can sneak out, one of you, right?
We've got that covered. My in-laws are going to one of them's going to go in one room, one's going to go in the other, and they're going to watch the kids while the rest of us go out. So
there you go. So So then you're going to be able to go back out for the 10 p.m. Pirate Night, as Brian was telling you, the Rockin' Parlay party.
The Rockin' Parlay. I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so I've been asking a million questions. And
I was going to say, Tom, you've had all your questions answered, I think. So
I probably have more.
Do we have somebody who's going to be in the nursery? Because there's a slight.
My nephew is going to be in the nursery, and they were able to get a fair amount of time booked into it.
By the way, you can book more time in person, and also, but make sure that they know that when they're doing drop off, that drop off takes longer because you have to fill out a bunch of information each time at drop off. So it is not the regular kids club for 3 to 10-year-olds is a much quicker drop off process. The nursery is a longer. So make sure that they don't go there right at whatever time your dinner reservation is or whatever. Tell them to go 10, 15 minutes early.
I have to say the thing that was most surprising to me about the nursery was the cheapness of it. Especially by Disney standards. I was like, that's really cheap. And I know it's an extra thing you got to pay, and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law, I think we're a little worried that he's not going to have as much fun as the other kids. But I don't know. I looked at it. I think it looked awesome. I think it's
gorgeous. Yeah. That nursery is incredible. I've been. Oh yeah, we've toured the one on the Treasure and on the Wish, which are the same, and it is literally the most gorgeous nursery you've ever seen.
Great.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, so let's do some listener questions since I talked for 35 minutes now. So
I'll take the first one because I feel like it's best for me to ask it because I'm an unknowledgeable non-cruising person. So Dan K says, I dare you to ask them if it's called a boat or a ship, and then he follows it up with, I'm excited by my 2 favorite podcasts. So,
that's
nice.
Dan's obviously a fan, but we have a running joke about we do interchange boat and ship, which I know there is
no
about that.
They're both vessels, but not in the same class. Yes.
So it's a ship then, right? We got to call it a ship. Is that okay?
It is a ship.
It's a cruise liner or a cruise ship. Yes. Yeah.
Now, to be fair, we do colloquially use the term boat occasionally on our show as well. Yeah. So it's not when we refer to it, it's, a cruise ship, but we'll say, oh, and they were running back. These people were running back to the boat and they almost didn't make it. Right. So we use the word boat occasionally, but yes, the proper term is ship. Absolutely.
Well, Dan, now you can get off our back about calling
do you guys do what I do? My last cruise, my wife and I would get back, and then we would go out on the balcony when, we were about to leave port just to watch all the people running back because it was, it's a spectator sport in my mind.
It is. It is, absolutely. I mean, not all the time, but occasionally, yes.
Occasionally.
Which actually, Tom, really fast, just on the fireworks discussion. Yeah. Are you on a balcony? Are you in a veranda room?
Yes, we are in a veranda room. Yes,
we're on
side
deck
of the ship? 10. Oh gosh, I could tell you my exact room, but I let me pull up.
Well, are you starboard or port? That's really the question. Because if you're on the starboard side, you're not technically supposed to go out on the veranda during fireworks.
Oh, really?
But because they're worried about you getting burnt. But you can see them if you're on the starboard side. Potentially.
Oh, cool.
From your own balcony. Yeah. So if you can't sneak back out and you're on the starboard, just
how do I know which side I'm on?
You should be able to look at the deck plan. Yeah, the deck plan will tell you exactly where your room is, and port is left, 4 letters, LEFT, PORT, left. Yeah. Starboard is right. So yeah.
I'll have to dig into
that. That port was left if you're facing the front of the ship.
Let's see. Yes. Deck 10 forward. Doesn't say on here. I got to look on the deck plans. Okay, I'll find it. But that's a good tip. Actually, that's really good to know. Because
it's not encouraged by the cruise line.
Yeah,
and if you
do
go out there,
not supposed to, but
if you do go out there, make sure you close the balcony door behind you because the concern is that a burning ember or something flies back through a balcony into a stateroom and starts a fire. So
I could see that because it's windy out on these boats. That's
Although they tend not, if it's too windy, they tend not to do the fireworks. So they can get canceled. They're not guaranteed. Yeah.
So it appears that I am on the left-hand side of the boat.
Okay. So no joy for you. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's unfair.
It just means you're going to have to go to the party. But pro tip, go up on. So watch from one deck above the pool deck. Watch from sort of the balcony and go on the starboard side for the pirate night. For the deck party, and also you'll be in the perfect spot for fireworks.
That's great. Okay,
you're gonna have to learn ship directions real quick here. It sounds like.
Listen,
the right side if you're facing forward. The right side.
And if you get lost, just look down. If you're in the stateroom floors, just look down at the carpet because they always have some sort of I forget what it is on the treasure.
Like a Mickey usually.
Yeah, but the Mickey head or the compass or whatever it is will always point directly to the front of the ship, and so orient yourself that way, and then left, right, front. Back.
Okay,
yeah,
that is fantastic. I really like that.
I will absolutely get lost on the ship. I swear to you, I didn't realize where my last cruise on the Royal Caribbean ship, I did not figure out where my room was until the last day, I think. I think I walked out the wrong side of the elevators like every single time.
The signage is good on.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
on
good.
the ships. That's the one.
I'm sure this is not going to compare in any way to the Royal Caribbean, the old boat that I was on Royal Caribbean. I'm sure this is going to be way better. So yeah. So Laura is asking us. Laura on Facebook asks, "Where should you request to be seated in the restaurants of the Treasure? For example, how close do you want to be to the stage on the Coco restaurant?"
You want to be as close as they'll put you.
Okay.
But some of that's reserved for so the seating is a bit of a black box. Like some of it is they put the concierge staterooms up next to the stage, and we also think that they may put higher Castaway Club status like closer. And we don't know for sure. It's kind of a black box.
Yeah,
interesting.
That sounds like a deliberate thing on their part.
But here's the thing: it's the same loudness wherever you're seated. So if you're wanting like a quiet spot in the Plaza de Coco, there's no such thing. So if you have a noise sensitivity, bring some headphones or some earplugs.
Well, that's a good tip.
And I suspect this person may be asking that question because on the Wish, there were a lot of obstructed sight lines in the restaurant for the Frozen show. I will say that Disney did a really good job with Coco. They moved all of the serving stations to the outside of the restaurant, so there are none in the middle. And they took out, I think, every pillar they possibly could in that restaurant.
It's better for sure.
So to give lots of open sight lines to the stage. And so I think it's they also the show for Coco. There are story elements to it. I don't want to discount that, but a lot of it is great because they've turned the volume down a little. When people are eating, it doesn't feel as loud as Frozen does, and the music and the dancing and stuff can almost become atmospheric. So you can be sort of choosing to listen to it and kind of glance at it while also having conversation. So it's a much better experience, in my opinion, than the Frozen restaurant.
Yeah. Well, and there's a stage. So it is elevate, like the performers, occasionally they'll be going down like the aisleways, but generally they're on the stage. And so they're elevated a bit. So are there better seats? Of course, but you should be able to at least, see, and it's I'll call it a theater in the round, right? Because the tables surround the stage. And so the performers do move to face different directions. So occasionally the back will be facing, their backs will be facing you, and occasionally their front will be facing you or their side will be facing you. So that's the nature of that kind of theater experience.
That makes total sense, and I do wonder because I have a slightly larger. I mean, we have 9 people in our group, so I wonder if it gets put in a different place or if that's I don't know.
No, not really. All the tables are there. Like there are some
they're long. They're long. Tables.
There are some. There are some 4 tops, but most of the tables are quite large. Most of the tables are for larger parties. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Trevor, you want to read this one for Gina?
So Gina actually, she kind of rapid fired some questions.
Yeah,
but,
she did. She did. Lightning round.
I think so. The last one though, you kind of already asked that about onboard activities for like. Yeah, I won't go into that. But what she wants to know from, she said to ask Brian which lounge is the best, and also ask him about the treasure lounges. Is the Haunted Mansion lounge similar to the Star Wars lounge?
You guys kind of answered that earlier.
Yeah. Night and day. I would say, best lounges for the best lounge for the atmosphere is Haunted Mansion. I mean, I think hands down, but the drinks in the Haunted Mansion lounge are not my favorites. And we heard that kind of from a bunch of people we sailed with on the Maiden, that they were just like, it's like okay, but not great. So I think it's a great place to go sit and see the show and, certainly try one of the drinks. But if you're looking for just like kind of like the balanced out experience, I don't know. I think the best drinks are in the Scat Cat Lounge. Actually, they have a fabulous drink called a grape jam.
Grape jam, yeah.
And it's like it was kind of an old fashioned style drink, but it comes with an Uncrustable. So
wait, why does it come with an Uncrustable?
It's the theme of the drink. It's like a peanut butter and jelly drink. Yeah,
peanut butter and jelly. Yeah, it had a peanut butter and jelly or peanut butter
whiskey. Yeah,
yeah. So it is delicious, and like the Uncrustable just put it over the top. I think if you're looking for tiki drinks, then you got to go to the Skipper Society, and the atmosphere there is it's open on both sides, so it's not as like private or, secluded, and people come in and out and all that sort of stuff. But it's a great bar.
And the great thing about Skipper Society is it's always all ages. So,
that's nice.
Yeah, so you can bring your kid in there with you and kind of hang out at one of the tables, and they do a lot of the trivias, and they also have musical acts there as well.
But also don't sleep on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, the theme bar, Periscope Pub, because that is a very unique venue on Disney. They forewent the Irish pub in favor of this one, and it's the only ship that has something like it. I mean, it's a sports bar, so the TVs are on playing sports. It loses a little bit of the magic, but not enough that I wouldn't go in there and have a beer. Hands down, best drink in the fleet is on the Wish and the Treasure, and that is Head to Hook's Barbary. In the evenings, they open up a speakeasy style bar. They have a roll top credenza kind of thing that is, they open it up and it's
a barber shop.
It's the barber shop. It's the barber shop. But they make fabulous bespoke old fashions in there. It's all handcrafted stuff. It's great, and I love to go there, grab one of those before. They're smoked old fashions, I should say. They were the first ones in the fleet to do that. Was in Hooks. So I love to go there, grab one of those, and take them with me to dinner. It's not a place you can go sit down; it's usually too small and crowded for that. But grab a drink and take it with you. It's
like a walk around drink, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, exactly.
It is the Skipper. So first of all, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is one of my favorite Disney rides of all time. So I will definitely be going to that bar. But I did the Jungle Cruise one. Are you getting any of the Jungle Cruise joking around, or is it just more themed around
not so
a little bit? A little bit.
No, they're not, Brian. So
we disagree on this. If you can't tell,
the bartenders are not failed skippers. They are not. They're not skippers who flunked out at Trader Sam's. But the menu does have. So there, you actually have a hippopotami tie on the menu, nice. And a couple of other. They also have a really cool drink that has. It comes in of course, a tiki cup that is the Jungle Cruise boat, and so that's really cool. So there are the drink menu definitely has the theming, and the atmosphere has the theming, but the cast members aren't in character. That's why you have to go to the Jungle Cruise game show in the atrium that is fully themed.
Okay, Sam, I disagree. I think there were times that you weren't there that we got some serving staff who were trying to inject a little bit of the Jungle Cruise puns and stuff and rolling their eyes, and so I think there is some of it. I don't know how consistent it is, and I don't know how much of it they were trying to turn it on for the maiden voyage a little bit, because they have a different opening crew up until about a few weeks after the maiden, and then the rotational crew comes in. So there was a guy, there's a coffee bar on board called Hey Cafe, and the crew member there was hilarious, because for the entire maiden voyage, when you walked up, he'd be like, hey, how you doing?
That's true. That's true, but I don't I did not see any of that in Skipper Society. I would not count on puns and whatnot there, but like I said, that's why you have to go to the Jungle Cruise themed game show in the Grand Hall.
And they're not doing Trader Sam special effects and stuff like that in that bar.
No, correct.
Right? That's okay.
Correct.
Yeah, because I love Trader Sam's for that. I mean, it's all the fun, crazy stuff that happens at that bar. So
yeah,
all right.
Well, and remember, it's a different. What they can do on the ship is a little bit different, also because the crew is generally international, right? So it's not like at the parks where most of the skippers are American and the puns work in that, in English, and they understand them at the same level that the guests understand them, right? So it doesn't have the same. You have a little bit less ability to do that with a multilingual crew.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes total sense. So Trevor, you want to do Elizabeth's question? I think you're down there. So
yeah. So Elizabeth says, this question. Yeah, which ship for a first time to Disney Cruise Line's family? She says, I keep leaning towards the older ones. They've only been on one cruise, the Royal Adventure of the Seas.
That's what I was on last year. So I was on the Adventure of the Seas, and that boat's a little older. So
this is a hard question, because any of the ships is great for a first time cruising family. I think the itinerary to me is like, what is the most important? And do you want to do a 7-night cruise? Can you only fit in a 3 or 4 night cruise? You want to sail out of, California, want to sail out of Port Canaveral, or do you want to sail out of Fort Lauderdale, right? Like those things to me are like the more important deciding factors. I think we have several shows where we talk about like, what's the best, ship for the younger kids. We both think that the kids club on the Wish and the Treasure are probably, the best. And so for the younger kids, that's a great place. The tween and teen clubs are fantastic on the Dream class ships. They're probably for, that age of kids are the best. But the classic ships have this like beautiful classic Disney nostalgia. I think those are also a little bit easier for anyone who's mobility challenged. And so we like to say for sort of multi-generational, I think that the Magic and the Wonder are, probably the best options. But really, I think you could go on any of the Disney fleet, and it doesn't matter if it's the oldest ship or the newest ship, and have an amazing first cruise. If you want sort of that smaller, more intimate experience, you only really are going to get that on the Magic or the Wonder, the older 2 ships.
That's good. It was an interesting question. I like because I'm sure it's hard, right? Because you guys you've been on all of them, right? So yep. It's like it's hard to choose. But I also wanted to ask this question from Dan. Any updates on Lookout Key, specifically the bike rentals and the 5K? When we were there, neither were running, and we heard rumors of expansion on Disney's portion of the island, and also any recommended excursions on this port specifically. Before you answer this, I do want to ask you: were you guys as down on Lookout Key as the rest of the internet was, or were you guys? Because I know you've been there, but I was curious because I know there was a lot of negative coverage of that when it opened.
Yeah, I think we were probably some of the only content creators who actually really liked Lookout Key. I think that there was just a lot of, in my opinion, nitpicking around issues that were either out of Disney's control, like the pier. To get to develop that part of the island, they had to agree to protect that reef, and the only way they could do it is with a pier. They couldn't. People are like, well, they could just tender in. They can't tender in and protect the reef because the tender boats destroy the reef. So Disney had to build a pier. Could they have done a better job building a pier? Yeah, could have been wider. Could have been accommodating for trams. Could have had sun sails on it, and maybe they will do some of that. But I sort of looked at it and went, how far do I have to walk in the parking lot at Magic Kingdom to get to the front gate? And we're complaining about it, and then proceed to do another 25,000 steps on the day, right? Like we're complaining because we have to walk a half mile to get a tram to a beach, right? Like that to me was just sort of nonsensical, and it's done. Like the thing is done, and Disney wasn't shy about it. It was out there for 2 years before they even finish the island. So like the pier is the pier. And then, people were really upset about the flies and on the food situation, which it was bad. I'm not going to lie. It was bad that first week that people were there, and it continued to improve. And now, we're getting reports from people like, I saw one fly, right? Or I didn't see any flies. And, at some point you got to balance out, like you're outdoors eating food. Like if you were at a park down the street, like, would you expect to see some pests around your food? Like, so I think Disney.
Sorry, really, just to double check, this is on an island, correct?
Yeah, this is on an island in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, and
exactly.
There was
in the
also
Bahamas.
There was a lot of reasons, like they had completely upended the environment, and so a lot of it, I think, had to do with the fact that the flies had been just stirred up from all of the construction activity. Sure. Yeah, and so they put a lot of work in, and that's solvable or solved now. In terms of, I think, so we really liked it. I think Lookout Key has a ton of promise as a new destination, and I always just like to remind myself, like, I'm sure that Castaway Cay was not perfect when it opened, right? It has evolved over time into what it is and what people like. I think the other thing is, for those who have experienced Castaway Cay now going to Lookout, like, it's not Castaway Cay Part 2. This is Lookout Cay. It is a different destination. They had a different emphasis and a different mission. They really tried to bring the Bahamian culture into the island with the Junkanoo and the music and the art. And I got a chance to talk to some of the local artists who were involved in all of that when I was there on the preview cruise. And they are very proud of what they did in that space and how they're able to highlight their culture to people. So I think you just got to step away and say, one, the island has a lot of promise. It's not fully done. Two, it's a different thing than Castaway Cay. And three, most of the things that are problematic are not like they were operational, and the operational side, that gets solved, right? So in terms of the specific question, last I heard, bike rentals were still not running. That could change day to day, right? So I think they were waiting on the bikes to come. I don't know what the
no, they had the bikes. It was that the paths were not done, Brian.
No, well, in the early cruises, they didn't even have the bikes.
True. They actually, I think, I think they might. I know they have some bikes there already because folks have reported that they've seen the bikes. The problem is that the trails are not finished, which is what gets you to the 5K question. It is not yet ready. They do have some signage up. We've seen pictures of the signage for the 5K. For where it will, start, but it is not operational quite yet.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then excursions, that's another hard question because when we went, there was not a single excursion that was like up and running yet. When we were at Lookout Key, even though we were there, how many times, Brian? You were there 4 times in like 2 weeks?
Yep.
And
there were no excursions yet.
The only thing we've booked is we're going to do the snorkeling at Castaway, and that's something I really want to do. So I mean I don't know if you guys have. I'm sure you have thoughts on that one, but I've heard it's good. I don't know.
It's different. Like snorkeling on Castaway is snorkeling Castaway is in an enclosed. A big difference, I think. Let me stop there and say a big difference between Lookout and Castaway. Castaway is an enclosed, protected bay.
Yeah,
and so you get like weird water level up and down kind of problems on the beach throughout the day as the tide comes in and out that you kind of get less of at Lookout because it's just an exposed point. And so it's more like going to, a beach, right? And then the snorkeling at Castaway is all driven in that bay. And then they've sunk special things and statuettes and stuff like that. So it's like less about the fish. You're not seeing a lot of fish. You're kind of like exploring to find the hidden Easter eggs that they've sunk to the bottom of the ocean there or the beach there. On Lookout, they didn't do that. So you're basically just snorkeling. And I will say the beach is fairly shallow for a significant length out. So you can wander out in the cove there on the beach there into the ocean for a while before you would really hit any kind of drop off. I'd say for Lookout, the one thing that we have heard now is like water shoes are not the worst idea. There is some coral.
I would wear water shoes regardless. I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't, and I had no problems with it. But yeah. So anyway. Yeah.
But I would say, like, if you're looking for snorkeling to see like fish and sea turtles and stingrays and things like that, neither Castaway nor Lookout are where you want to snorkel. Like, if you want snorkeling, people love snorkeling at Castaway because they love snorkeling to see the items that have been sunk that Brian was talking about, right? So you want to see. There's like Mickey's statue. There's a statue of Eric, of course, from Little Mermaid, right? So there are some cool things to go and see, but you're not going to see like great fish wildlife situation, right? There are other islands and snorkeling excursions that you'll want to do if you want to see wildlife while you're snorkeling. So it's just kind of it's not a bad thing. It's just what to expect, right? Gotcha. And at Lookout, there's just, as Brian mentioned, because it's so shallow, there's just not a lot of large sea life. You'll see like some minnows at both places. You'll see like some minnows and some smaller fish, but nothing really exotic.
Okay.
So Tom, I'm going to give you one last tip before you wrap us up here, which is just make sure in Coco, don't sleep on the appetizers. That's where the real like solid Mexican food is in Coco. And the tres leches cake, or is it a cake or a sundae? I forget. It's like a cake.
Yeah. Oh
my God. Best dessert in the fleet.
Wow.
So don't sleep on that.
Yeah. I will never turn down tres leches anything. So
it's so good.
I went to a Cuban restaurant one time and I had a cuatro leches and I was like, what's the fourth one?
Ooh, what's the fourth one?
I don't know what it was. I couldn't find out, but I was like, yeah, give me another one. Give me more of the dairy.
More leches.
So we're going to do our ad right now. And then we have news on the Disney adventure we'd love you guys to talk about. And if you want to hang around for the rest of our nonsense we're going to talk about today, we would love to have you guys. But if you got to go, that's cool too. All right, so the sponsor of this episode is DVC Resale Market. DVC Resale Market, a World of DVC company, is the leader in the DVC resale industry with 13 former Disney Vacation Club guides and 3 former Disney Vacation Club quality assurance managers. If you're thinking of buying DVC, browse the largest selection of DVC resale listings anywhere, with DVC experts on hand 7 days a week to answer your questions. If you're thinking of selling, turn to the friendly professionals at DVC Resale Market, where over 98% of listings sell within 30 days. In 2024, DVC Resale Market helped over 4,400 families join or add onto their memberships. Go to dvcresalemarket.com/welcome home or call 1-844-DVC-PROS. That's 1-844-382-7767. And when you speak to them, be sure to let them know that Welcome Home sent you. And I just want to mention, too, we talk about this all the time. We don't promote anybody that we don't use, right? So I just finished buying and selling a DVC contract from DVC Resale Market, and they couldn't have been more amazing at the process. So yeah, please check them out. They've been our partners for like a long time now. So, and we love them. They're just great people over there. So
yeah.
So Sam and Brian, we got some Disney Cruise news. Sorry, Trevor, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say So we do have some news about the adventure, which I guess to both Sam and Brian is the adventure goes out of Singapore, I believe. Do you guys have plans for taking an international cruise anytime in the future? Because that seems kind of far.
It's far
to take a cruise.
So I am actually booked on the Adventure's maiden voyage, but
awesome.
That is not going to happen. So I booked it on a whim just to book it, and the Adventure did not have all of the same maiden voyage restrictions on it that the other ships have had. So there's no like penalty for like moving it, basically. So I will probably start the process that many Disney Cruise Line folks who sail a lot do, which is punting that cruise out every itinerary release until we decide we're actually going to go. But yeah, it is a long way to go, and it was too long for me to go for a 3-night cruise. So, yeah.
The Adventure seemed like they're doing some very different things that they haven't done with the other ships before. Just like with like the rides on the deck and like the, they
part of that.
Yeah. Because they have that big open area in the middle too, which they didn't have on their other ships. Right.
But they didn't design, you got to remember, they didn't design this ship from the ground up. They bought it.
That's right. They bought it. Yeah.
So part of this is the ship was built and they didn't want to invest too much money in it, right? Because the whole idea was we're getting a steal on like an almost complete ship, and all we have to do is kind of come in and like finish it up,
Disney it up, right?
Yeah. Now we have heard through various grapevine sources that they probably ran way over budget in what they were expecting to spend for this ship. So the original plans for the ship contemplated that kind of amusement park on top and all that sort of stuff. So they're really just kind of Disneyfying what was there, and then in some cases going a little bit beyond. But it is very different, very, very different ship. It has more restaurants on it than the other ships. The rooms are very, very different. So the room I booked is we actually booked in concierge because we wanted to see some of the new concierge amenities that they were offering on that ship, and it's supposed to be kind of a 1-bedroom. But I heard from a friend of mine that like the bedroom, or like the sort of additional sleeping space, is like a nanny room. So it's like literally a closet with a bed in it, because it's not uncommon in Asian culture to have a nanny and to travel with your nanny, especially when you're sort of, paying the price to sail in like a concierge kind of stateroom. So
interesting.
It's a very, very different ship. It's going to look very different than the rest of the fleet. And it will be the only one of its kind out there as far as we know. So,
do you think it ever ends up coming out of the United States at some point, or is they just going to keep this over in Singapore?
I don't think there is any way this ship will actually do any kind of revenue-based sailing out of the United States. We have heard and gotten some speculation that she may be stopping in LA on her way to Singapore. And there's a bunch of different tea leaves we're reading there to kind of arrive at that conclusion. But we suspect if she stops there, it's not going to be to do any kind of revenue sailing. It's going to be to like restock and maybe do what they did with the Treasure, where they parked her in New York and brought a bunch of folks on for some tours.
Thing.
Which
was awesome, by the way.
Yeah, to do like tours, and then they might do some kind of like media cruise, right? Like a 3-night where they just go out to sea and come back, or if they go down to Ensenada and come back, right? So because they'd be going out of the Port of LA, and there's actually like on the Port of LA's schedule, like for that like the timing in November of this year, there's actually a slot that the Disney Adventure has. And so that's really where that comes from. But also because, of course, she's got to get all the way from Europe to Singapore, which means
and it coincides with
through the Panama Canal.
It also coincides with a travel agent event that's happening at Disneyland. So it's sort of like we suspect that they want to get some of the American, influencer media types on board like they did with the Treasure, but they don't want to pay to fly them all out to Singapore. So because they want to put sense. It makes sense. Yeah, they want to put the Asian market influencers and TAs on that ship because that's where she's going to sail and that's where they need to sell this thing. This ship is not intended to be a way to go see Asia with Disney, right? Like this is really for the Asian market to see if Disney has enough of a cachet there for them to fill these sailings with folks who are local. So.
Well, and they don't go anywhere. The sailings are just from Singapore out to sea. They don't stop anywhere.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, and of course they're doing that thing too now where they're going to like license out the Disney Cruise Line name right to the same people that do the parks in Asia. So that should be interesting to see how that shakes out too.
Yeah, so that'll be a different ship. That'll be the fourth Wish class ship actually. Well, actually, there's going to be 5 Wish class ships, right? So the fifth, right? So it's going to be the 5th Wish class ship is going to be an OLC ship. So it's basically contracted to it's the folks who run Tokyo Disneyland. It's not the folks who run Hong Kong or Shanghai. And so they are going to run a ship out of Japan. And so that will be in, I believe, 2029 is when that ship is supposed to come out. We don't really know anything about it as far as like how many, what kind of itineraries it will sail, whether it will have port stops or if it'll be cruises to nowhere like the Adventure.
Whether you'll even be able to book it on the Disney Cruise Line website is a question mark.
Exactly. Yeah, whether or not it'll count towards castaway status, right? So those things we don't know. We know that the Adventure, all of those things it is being run by the Disney Cruise Line company. Of course, they have a Singapore branch or subsidiary or whatever you want to call it that's sort of doing the day-to-day operations, but it's all linked through, it's all done, booking through the Disney Cruise Line website that we use ourselves. So, it is definitely the Adventure is part of DCL. This OLC ship is kind of maybe sort of part of DCL. We're not really sure.
kind of like the Asian parks are kind of sort of Disney. Yeah,
exactly. We don't really know exactly how it's going to shake out once she launches. It will be, there's a lot of question marks that haven't been answered by Disney yet.
And the news we have here is they're talking about this. There's going to be a Duffy and the Friend ship. Okay, that's an interesting name.
Duffy and Friends. There's going to be a Duffy and Friends show, and there's going to be a Duffy and Friends shop on board.
Yeah, the one that stuck out to me
makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. About it. Yeah. Everybody loves Duffy.
I'm obsessed with Duffy. Yeah, and I'm obsessed. This is, to me, as soon as I saw that announcement, I texted Brian and I was like, how are we getting me on that ship? Because I'm going to bring an empty suitcase and it's going to be filled with Duffy and Friends stuff on the way back.
The shop looks pretty insane.
Yeah,
it does.
Just so much Duffy merch.
A lot of Duffy merch. What stuck out to me was the Captain Jack Sparrow and Siren Queen show because that looks cool too.
Yeah,
with like projection, it looks like it's got like projection stuff going on and like this looks like a cool show.
Yeah, I mean, and they have. The good thing is there's so much, pirate stuff already on Disney Cruise Line that they can take, sort of some of the storyline characters and, sort of put those on the ship or on the Adventure, but with different, special effects and with different, like you said, with projections and things like that. So I think they're going to just sort of enhance what we already know as Pirate Night on the other ships.
Nice. All right. Well, we're going to move on to like Disney park stuff. And so I hope you guys are okay for the nonsense we're going to talk about now. But I know we talked before the show, like about the topics and you guys were excited about this. So that's great too. But one of the things we're going to talk about is, so we have been talking about Lakeshore Lodge, AKA Reflections. It's always going to be Reflections to me, like MGM. It's just reflection, right, Trevor? I mean, we talked about Reflections for so long.
I mean, technically, we should be calling it Haunted
River Country. Yes,
that's what we.
But here's the thing, though. They're doing like what we were talking about for Haunted River Country, right? So The rumor here is based on some like the public filings. It seems like they just kind of kept the plans for Reflections, right? Like it's basically going to be Reflections. They just realized that they don't want it to sound like a day spa anymore. They want it to sound like an actual resort called Lakeshore Lodge. But so they're going to have a large feature pool and a lazy river, which will only be the second lazy river at a resort.
Yes,
I think the only other one is Beach Club, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, Aulani.
Aulani, yeah, that's true. I wasn't counting that one.
I guess we were thinking in Florida.
I know.
In Florida, yeah.
I know. I'm kind of teasing, but I love the one out in Aulani. So
yeah, I've not made it to Aulani yet, but my sister and brother-in-law are going there this summer, and they're definitely very excited for that. But yeah, no, I think this is kind of cool because like we were talking about, it's almost like it's bringing back the ghosts of river country, right? And that's pretty cool to me. I'll be interested to see how this shakes out and if this is going to look exactly like the Reflections plans, because they really haven't announced much other than it's going to be Lakeshore Lodge, right?
Yeah. So Tom, did you have a look at these plans for the
yeah,
you did?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize this at first when I looked at that, or where the blue was highlighted. Like this lazy river looks like it's going to be in like there's going to be like I guess like a courtyard area. It's the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It almost looks like Animal Kingdom Lodge where all the animals are, but instead of watching the animals, you're going to watch all the people swimming.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. It's it's interesting, and I didn't realize how much other structure there is around it too. Like they have like the buildings, and it looks like there's going to be a lot of stuff in like it's not just where this pool is, but like a lot of I don't know, lounge areas, and I don't know what else they would be putting there.
This is a pretty nice sized resort, and then of course it looks too like they have the cabins on the water again too, which are going to cost a fortune to stay in. But I mean, listen, I did the cabin one time at Wilderness Lodge, and it was fantastic. So we did a 1 night blowout because we had points that were going to expire, and so we're like, let's just go crazy and do 1 night at a cabin. So which was great, but these are going to be kind of similar to that. But yeah, no, listen, we've been talking about this resort for a while, and the fact that they're going to have like a lazy river and everything, like I'm all about a lazy river. Like I want to just float around and relax. So
now the interesting thing about that too is because I assume this is going to be one of these resorts that is limited the same way that like Riviera and the newer resorts
of course it
are.
Is. Yeah,
which I guess the one thing about that is how hard because previously it was like getting into Yacht and Beach Club was extremely difficult because it was the only place with a like a lazy river and like that type of
their pool is epic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but this is going to be in contention for that. But I wonder if it's going to actually take some of the pressure off of Beach Club.
That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, it could.
I think it will. I think that's a really good point, Trevor, because I mean, I know for us, like we tend to stay at Riviera because that's where we own, but we love the pool or pools at Yacht and Beach Club. And so, I mean, that would be our preferred, other than the fact that our home resort is Riviera, Beach Club would be our preferred place to stay because of that pool. And so, yeah, I think if you end up with as good of a pool and lazy river situation at, I like to call it a retirement home at Reflections, retirement home.
That works too. Yeah, retirement home, spa, whatever.
Right. Rehab facility.
Rehab facility is the one. Yeah.
All the different names. Yeah. But I think, I think it could really help with that booking pressure. And it may, it may help with any booking pressure that might be at Riviera because of the whole resale restriction booking.
Yeah, and I also think it will help with like the monorail resorts and that whole area, right? Because there's always a lot of pressure on those resorts just because it's right by Magic Kingdom, and there's the more hotel rooms over there, I guess the better if you're trying to get a room, right? Yeah, I mean for me, I've said this before, I will most likely be buying at this place at some point, assuming it comes out, in a way that I want it to be, like in something that's attractive. I still haven't stayed at Riviera. Actually, that's interesting. You guys own at Riviera and stay there. Cause Trevor and I, when we were at Disney together, we walked through the Riviera, and I hadn't been through there just to, hop on the Skyliner. because Trevor and I both love the Skyliner.
So we got off because we need to go to Disney Springs. So
that's right. We got off the Skyliner to get on the bus. Yeah, that's right.
We figured we might as well walk through because we had to get on a bus to Disney Springs anyway. So we
but it felt so nice.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Riviera is beautiful.
Our son, we like to stay in the 1 bedrooms at Riviera, and our son's like, "This is nicer than our house." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong."
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just walking through that place, I was like, "Wow, this feels like." See, we always joke about how I've joked about this for a long time about how anytime I'm in Grand Floridian, I always feel like I'm like in the wrong place because like I don't belong.
It's like too fancy.
Yeah, it's too fancy for me. And so we always had this joke about like wearing a monocle and walking around, like that's always been the big thing. And I felt that way when I was in Riviera. I was like, this feels above me. This feels like I don't belong here. But anyway, I want to talk about.
I think you need a pipe too with your monocle.
Oh, is that? Yeah, you got to have the. Yeah, you got to have the pipe. You have a smoking jacket.
White.
Yeah,
cravat. Yeah,
maybe a cane. Maybe I know you guys all want to talk about this. So this next topic because I put this on here. I was like, because Trevor, you actually kind of called this. I feel like a while ago when there was some rumors going on about what the NBA experience was going to turn into. And I feel like you said, is it going to be DisneyQuest 2.0? And we're kind of getting that, aren't we?
Which it totally makes sense. And it's just, so Disney is not doing it themselves. They've employed this company called Level 99, which has other, basically, for lack of a better term, I guess they're like adult playgrounds.
It says interactive, competitive, social gaming venue for adults, which is a big word salad, but I get it. Yeah.
But yeah, so we're getting finally a DisneyQuest like place back in that space, which I'll be honest, I can't think of anybody that I've spoken to about NBA experience, and I'm not saying this as like if you're a fan of basketball, good for you, but nobody wanted NBA experience.
It was open for like 10 seconds. It was it was barely open, and then it like failed immediately, and they were like, "All right, we're just going to close the doors on this."
So yeah, now this new place is coming up, and I'm very curious. I'm curious to see how this is going to play out because the Level 99 seems to be tuned more towards adults.
Yeah,
but you're going to have an aspect of like these things have to be engaging enough for kids too. Like I'm looking at some of the pictures and it's like, like somebody walking across a plank and there's like foam axes swinging back and forth. And I can imagine somebody's kids getting upset at this.
You know what though? Like my daughter went to a birthday party like a couple weeks ago at a trampoline park and they had like one of those spinning arm things. You know what I mean? Have you ever seen those?
Yeah, like the wipeout spinning arm thing.
Yeah, and she did it. I mean, like how it's not all that different from axes going. I mean, obviously they're not real axes, but I know what you mean though. It is geared towards adults, and they do actually say here it will have over 60 challenge rooms and duels. The 2-story venue will be over 45,000 square feet, 1,000 players at a time. There's going to be a 2-story bar. They're going to have pizza and other menu, like a full menu, but also with pizza. I mean, it looks really cool, but like you said, it doesn't seem like it's meant to necessarily cater to younger kids, maybe teenagers. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm interested in this. I know Sam and Brian, you guys were kind of interested in this too.
Excited.
I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see this. But my thing is, could this be a precursor? Can we finally get some Disney escape rooms? Like that's what I really want in my life. Like, how can we not do a National Treasure themed escape room?
That would be such a great one. Oh,
so I saw
Brian.
I saw this and I was like, is this like, is this going to be my escape? And it wasn't. And I was like, come on, like the storytelling company with all the technology, like it could be so amazing. So I hope that this takes off and then they find, let's expand like beyond just, providing bars where people drink and give them more experiences at a place like Disney Springs, because I think they could do just a real knock-up job with an escape room. And Royal Caribbean actually has them on their ships. And so I've been waiting for them to actually put one on a Disney ship. There's a company here in Seattle that does them. And so they do them for Royal Caribbean, and I'm like, they could just kill it.
They could totally
they
kill
could
it.
Kill it.
Yeah.
I
also am super excited for this though, because I loved DisneyQuest back in the day. I mean, rest in peace, DisneyQuest. But I loved where you got to create your own roller coaster, right? Yeah. Like I loved all that stuff. I thought it was really cool. It was really fun. I also really liked Brian and I did. They had a VR experience it was both at Downtown Disney in California, but also Disney Springs. I can't remember the name of it.
Oh, The Void.
Yeah,
Void.
I did The Void too. Yeah, The Void was awesome.
Yeah, we loved The Void.
Yeah, we loved The Void, and we I know we did it was a Marvel themed room that we did, and I know they had a Star Wars themed one as well. So like the possibilities for gaming and VR in a space that has, Disney IP, I think is really just high level. And so I think this could be really, really cool. It will be interesting to see if it is, more adult focused or more, family focused. And I think, time will tell on that. But like, if you think about places like, I don't know, Dave and Buster's, like they've got things that kids do during the day and then adults go in and drink and do the same thing at night, right? So I think it could be both. I think they could have sort of enough for both populations if they do it right. And so I'm excited to see how this all shakes out. But yeah, I'm super excited for it. I hope it's like combination DisneyQuest and The Void.
I miss The Void because we did it the one time and it was really cool. And my wife and I did the Star Wars one at Disney Springs, and that was, gosh, when was that? That was a long time ago. And at that point,
before COVID.
Yeah, I mean, the vests were so heavy, they had to lower it down on like a crane onto your shoulders. I'm assuming by now that it would probably be a little bit better. I mean, it might still be a little heavy on you, but it was such a cool experience.
Our 11-year-old just did one of these for her birthday parties. I mean, they're light enough that a kid can do it now. So yeah.
Yeah, here in Seattle, there's the Seattle area, it's a VR place, and it was very much like The Void, and they had the vests on, they were kind of and they were holding on to like a gun type thing, right, to do all these quests, and so they definitely have them. That's not to say that you don't get like hot and sweaty in them, wearing like a helmet and a vest and all that.
Oh yeah.
But they do have them, even that kids can do. So there's the opportunities are there.
Yeah, when we did The Void, we got to the you guys did the Marvel one. You didn't do the Star Wars one, right? Trevor, you did the Star Wars one, though.
Yeah, I did the Star Wars one like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, so there's the one part where you get to where there's like lava and you have to walk over a bridge and like you feel the heat and everything. And my wife, who's like a daredevil, she like literally she got to that point and she was like, I don't want to follow the lava. I'm like, Carrot, it's not real. like I know it feels real and it's warm and there's stormtroopers shooting at us, but let's go across the bridge. We're gonna be fine. But it's the immersion of that was amazing. And what I'm interested to see for Level 99, it does not seem, as far as I can tell from this, that Disney's really involved with this, right? From what I'm reading, right now, given it is their space, right? So my question will be, will they theme these games to Disney stuff, or are they just going to do what they've did in all their other locations across the country? Because to your point, they have a lot of great IP that they could put into an experience like this. And especially, Brian, I'm with you. I love escape rooms. We've talked about this before. There's so many cool IP things that you could make escape rooms with Disney IP. And it surprised me they haven't done it yet, because I know Universal has a couple that they've done with their IP, and it just feels like an obvious, easy thing for them to do. I don't know why they haven't done it, but I will be interested.
I want to solve like a Zootopia crime, right?
Yeah, right.
Why not? Yeah.
I have to wonder that, like, maybe because this Level 99 thing, you're right that there's 2 ways it's going to play out. Level 99, obviously, because they have multiple spaces for this, it may make sense for them to just reuse things that they've used in their other venues. Mm-hmm. So you don't get any like Disney specific stuff, but there is definitely that opportunity to start like folding in, even like reviving stuff from DisneyQuest in some way, shape, or form. I'm not saying like redo it entirely, but like, make nods to the old DisneyQuest stuff. I think the potential's there, but I think the real tell on this is going to be how well it's received when it's open, because, to the point about NBA Experience was, that was like open and shut so fast. Like it was.
I don't know. Did it last even a year?
Yeah. Like I mean, there was no reception to it, but I feel like if this gets enough reception, to your point, Brian, this may spawn other interactive things. Like I think this is like the tell of, if this gets enough feedback from people that they want to see more of it, then you might see Disney start doing it. And my pitch is they need to bring back the Adventurers Club from Pleasure Island.
Oh, yeah.
And that needs to be an escape room.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It would be so good.
That'd be awesome.
I just feel like that's where the market is heading to, with like people wanting to like, we want to go out and have food and drink, but we want to do something, right? Like not just sit and eat and drink. And, I think the high-end bowling alley concept has been kind of, it's had its day. And so like, I would love to see them do something more like this, more like an escape room, more like this, just provide those experiences, because I think people will pay for them. So.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And I'll tell a personal story real quick right here. But I it's my birthday this week. Don't feel the need to say happy birthday.
No, I'm going to say it anyway. Happy birthday.
Thank you. It's a big one for me. It's I'm turning 40 this week. So
listen, after the show wraps, I'm going to sing happy birthday to you.
No. I'm going to just keep recording, and then I'm going to put it on there.
I took my first Disney cruise at 42. So there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. So last night, every year for my birthday, just for the longest time, I've always did what I call big kid birthday, which is we always go and do something like that you would do as a teenager. Like we did laser tag, we've done trampoline park, we did axe throwing, we've done escape rooms. We've done a bunch of escape rooms, but last night we did something different, and this is kind of in the same vein. We did something called Game Show Battle Room. And this company has a lot of locations around, and basically is an hour experience. And we had 13 people came to this with us. And basically they have a host and they have a producer, and it's like a studio where it's a game show. And we played their version of Wheel of Fortune, their version of Family Feud, and their version of Price is Right. Because obviously they can't say, they can't use those names, but it's exactly the same games. And so like they had a giant wheel to spin for Wheel of Fortune. They had a giant Plinko board for Price is Right. And like, it was awesome. It was like, it was one of my favorite things I've ever done.
I am so jealous. They don't have one. I'm literally looking at it.
You're looking it up right now? It's so
on
cool.
The site too.
We don't have one in our area, but there is a competitor that is in our area called Game Show Connection.
Oh, there you go. You should try that. It was so cool. It was like you were talking about. It's this themed experience that's like a different thing, right? And, they serve drinks there and stuff too, but it wasn't even about that. Like, we got all competitive. We did, guys versus girls, like, because it was all couples, with us. And that was fun too. And the guys lost, of course, but, we tried. We actually tied at the end, but that's neither here nor there. But it's awesome though. And that's the kind of experiences, like, Disney can do this kind of stuff, right? Like, they have the IP to do fun things around their IP, where they're interactive experiences where you can do teams. And I mean, this actually says in the announcements that it is a themed physical or mental challenge, but I mean, themed to what? Is it like, are they going to theme it to Disney, or are they going to theme it to, whatever their current themes are? So yeah, Game Show Battle Room, by the way, if you have one near you, do it. It's awesome. It's so much fun. They should pay me for that endorsement. I feel like I need to call them up for that.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, because that was but like I said, that place was awesome. We had a lot of fun, and I could highly recommend it. But I'm hoping that this is kind of like that kind of experience, right? Where it's, interactive, and you're doing it with teams, and you're just, it's a different kind of experience that you can't get anywhere else.
Like I said, I think Disney needs to be paying attention to it when it opens, how popular it is, and also, like, I think it's good that Disney Springs is getting something other than shopping or a bar. I think that it also opens up the door to, not necessarily doing more like of this type of stuff, but just, I feel it's time for, like, Disney Springs being just a shopping mall. It needs to be more than that. And
preach.
Yeah, like it has, like, I think we all have those memories of, back when Pleasure Island was open and all that, that, it was a different vibe, right? And they need to come back to that.
Well, because for someone like me, I don't like shopping. Like, shopping does nothing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right. So, like, we've had dinner over there before, but then it's like, okay, well, what else are we going to do? Right. Like, let's not, I'm not going to wait in line, an hour for Gideon's cookies as much as I want to. But, like, they're missing that piece. They had the Void there. They had DisneyQuest before, like, they don't really have a lot of that anymore. So this is a great addition, and I'm like really looking forward to seeing what it's going to look like. Because I mean, even if it's not Disney themed, I still think it's going to be cool. But I feel like if it's not Disney themed, they're missing an opportunity. You know?
Totally.
I don't know. Yeah. Pleasure.
I like listening to this.
Yeah, no, they never are.
Yeah.
I mean, they stole our Haunted River Country idea, but you know.
Yeah, exactly.
No,
yeah,
kidding.
Let's make sure we go to Reflections and wear our shirts and yell.
I'm going to protest.
I'm sure that'll go over well. Actually.
I'm going to stand outside with a protest sign. That's what I'm going to do.
Right. So speaking of potential things to protest over, let's talk about the
cheer. I don't know. I mean, some people like it,
but hold on. So the announcement is that both Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind are losing virtual queues and going to standby queues as of February 25th, which is the day after this podcast release. So on Tuesday.
So happening this week.
So it's happening. I feel so. Actually, the interesting thing, and initially when you hear, "Oh, thank goodness the virtual queue is going away," when I actually told my son about this, he went, "Wait, what? No, why would they do that?" And I went
the same way. I felt the same way.
And I asked him, I like, because I paused for a minute and I was like, "What do you mean?" And he's like, "The virtual queue was so much better because I didn't have to wait in line. Like you booked your time and then you showed up, you did it, and that's it." He's like, "I do not like, it's going to be like a 3-hour long line for this ride." So I mean, it's debatable whether it's a good or a bad thing this is happening.
I think anybody that's listening to the show knows that I think the virtual queues are great operationally and as a guest. Is it a pain to get up at 7 a.m. and try to get in and then you don't get it? Sure. But would you rather wait in line for 4 hours and then have the ride break down and then you just wasted 4 hours of your vacation standing in a line that is not, was nothing? You just wasted time.
Yeah.
Like, I love the virtual queues and I thought they were great. And I'm sad that it's going away, honestly, because I do think that it's a good idea for these super busy rides. And I know most people hated them. Like, I know I'm probably in the minority here, but I just thought it was a really great way to reserve a time. And then not really a time, but you reserved a spot and then you go about your day, and then when it's time, they call you and you go on the ride. I just thought that was great. So, I mean, I know most people are probably going to be happy with this, but I'm not. And Brian, it sounds like you're not either. So
yeah, we're not. I think the most people that you're talking about is really like the non-Disney people, like the non-hardcore, like those of us who are like plan our trips. And Brian is the planner in our family. It's just, we count on the virtual queues. It makes it so we don't have to wait for 4 hours to ride Guardians of the Galaxy or Tiana's. And so, it makes it an easy in and out when our virtual queue gets called. So I think for most like hardcore Disney people, this is not a good thing.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And I realized,
I actually think I wonder how much of it's actually driven by the local pass holder crowd. Like if that's the more vocal minority here, just because it's like, because they don't want to have to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning to make these reservations, right? They just want to be able to walk in the park, and if they need to stand in line because Cosmic Rewind's the only ride they want to do that day, that's what they do, right? So I get it, but I just like the optionality of like, if I didn't get it, I didn't get it. I mean, I guess, most people listening to your show are going to be DVC members. And so I approach this as like, if I didn't get it this time, maybe I'll get it tomorrow or the next time I cut. Like, what difference does it?
There's always the 1 p.m. queue. And I never had problems getting on the 1 p.m. queue.
Yeah. So I loved them. I loved them to just be able to like, I got my ride time, and then I actually would get up early in the morning and I would try to get an early boarding group and a lightning lane, and I would just go over and ride the ride twice, get some coffee, and usually go back to the hotel. So
that's what Trevor does with Cosmic Rewind. Yeah, he does both the purchase lightning lane and the virtual.
And I realized, Sam, you actually kind of touched on it, that why my son was upset about it, because I'm the planner in the family as well, and so I would be up, do all the booking and everything, and for him it was great because he just rolled out of bed. We went, he did it, and for him it was super easy because he just showed up and things happened. So I can see where he's put out because he doesn't have to the advantage of his dad planning out his day for him. And
exactly. And I have that with Brian. Like, he plans out my day for me, so I don't have to do anything. And now I got to stand in a line for 3 hours? No, thank you. I'll skip that ride, right? Well, and I only go on Guardians once. I can't. Brian he'll do the virtual queue for all of us, and then he might buy an individual Lightning Lane for himself and our son, because I can't ride it twice or I get really nauseous. I can ride it once, but once is my limit. Like, that's once, and then I need to take a little break and get a coffee and walk around a little bit. But they can both do it. They can do it like back to back with no issues. But yeah, I like your son. I just show up and tell me where to go. All right, sounds good.
This might change your strategy, though, Trevor, a little bit for your May trip, right? Because like you were banking on virtual queue and buying a Lightning Lane to ride it twice with your brother. Now you're going to have to rope drop that.
Maybe, or we also are exploring late night rides as well.
Okay.
That's the other way to approach it. Is the interesting challenge for us is because, and I think both Sam and Brian, you're kind of in the similar boat to us, is that the time change going from Western United States to Eastern United States, getting up early for rope drop is very hard. Mm-hmm. And that's why we actually find we fare better if we wait until like the end of the night and hit rides as the park is closing, because, a lot of times the parks, empty out enough that you can get a lot of stuff done quickly. And then we're also not because for us, it's not as late as it is for other people. We can go all the way up until park close and not be bothered by it. So
it makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out in May, because I'll be paying attention to how this looks for the next couple of months here. Because, but I guess the other advantage though is if I time it right, I may be able to ride Guardians more than twice in a day.
That's true. You might be able to actually do it more than you would have been able to if it. I don't think it says it in this article, but is it still going to be an individual Lightning Lane, or is it going to be part? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I saw there was some confusion with that when they first announced this, because they just copy pasted the Tiana announcement.
Oh, okay.
And the Tiana announcement said it was going into the multi-pass. And so everyone was like, Guardians is going to the multi-pass? That's insane. And then they went back and changed it and said, no, it's individual. Yeah.
No, if you want to ride Guardians, you're going to need to pay for
You're
it.
going to pay.
Which I will.
At least $20 a person.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fine by me.
Yeah, I that's fine. It is interesting though, because it's not like the internet reacted to this like they were abolishing virtual queues altogether. That's not what they're doing. They're just ending it for these two rides. They were the last two left, right? Like next time they open a new attraction, they're going to have a virtual queue again. They're not going to stop doing this, because it works so well for them operationally when they launch a new attraction to have the virtual queue until, things even out. They get the ride up to where they need it to be efficiency wise. And then, then they can just let it be standby queue. But it's funny, because all the things I've seen on the internet about this be like, oh, no more virtual queues forever. And it's like, okay, well, yeah, for now
until either Tropical Americas or Monsters Inc. or Cards, like
well, they still have it for World of Color at Disneyland. They still have virtual queues for Run Disney for the first day of the expo, at least at Disneyland, right? So like they still use virtual queues, people. Don't worry. The virtual queues are not going bye-bye. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, your home park is, because you're West Coast, you guys are more Disneyland like Trevor, right? You
yes.
guys, yeah. So we
are West Coast, best coast.
West Coast. Well, Trevor,
the differences. I've tried to explain to Tom how Disneyland's different, but he doesn't. Like, I'm speaking in another language. But you guys, right?
Like, it is. Listen, we miss Max Pass, right? We didn't care about the whole Fast Pass thing. We miss Max Pass, right? So yeah, we have, but there's a different lingo. Because operationally the parks do work differently. I mean, there are more similarities now with Genie Plus or whatever they call it now, multi-pass.
Who knows?
Whatever the new iteration is multi-pass, right?
Multi-pass.
But it's so now they work more similarly, but yeah, there are still different languages that we speak with. It's funny because Brian and I both grew up on the East Coast going to Walt Disney World, and now we're West Coast Disneyland people. So
yeah, and when I grew up in New Jersey, and we used to drive down to Disney World, so 20 hours,
because I grew up entirely Disneyland, and I didn't go to Disney World until my honeymoon.
Oh,
and then,
wow.
And then we were like hooked on Disney World.
Yeah, I actually, one of my friends that was at my birthday thing last night was, we're like, we're going to take the kids to Disney World in November, and they've never been. And I'm like, and they're like, can you help me? I'm like, I can, but it's a lot, like it's almost hard to like even prep people for Disney World because it's just so large and complicated and a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. I always tell people, like, first, people who've never been to any Disney theme park, I always like tell them go to Disneyland, don't go to Disney World, because there's so much less you have to like learn to do like a first trip at Disneyland than there is for Disney World. I'm not saying you won't have a great trip, but like you can do like a 3-day trip. You don't have to do like a week-long or 10-day trip, right? Like
and just like not having to figure out like the travel between parks.
It's just a lot simpler. Yeah, it's just a lot less stuff that I have to explain to somebody.
100%. So, Trevor, I think we should once again push food time back to next week.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so, let's push it back to next week. Well, I mean, the Food and Wine Festival at California Adventure isn't starting till the 28th anyway, so we will be right on time for this if we talk about it next episode. So,
and I'll put out the apology because it was put on it was posted on our page that we were going to talk about food time.
Oh, sorry.
I don't know if people have noticed that we've been posting a lot more on the page, and we'll talk about that more.
We're trying.
In the future,
we're trying to be as great as Brian and Sam are as posting things on social media, because you guys are like insanely good at social media and we are insanely bad at it. So
I don't know, trying some stuff, and it was said that we were going to talk about food time this week, but sorry guys.
We're gonna push it back. We'll push it back.
That's just because Brian and I talk too much, but it's really
no. This was great. This was fantastic. This was a great conversation with you guys.
We love talking with you guys. It's just you guys are so much fun, and you get what we do, and we get what you do, and it just makes it more fun when that's the case, because you guys are Disney fans like we are, and it just And honestly, I can't tell you. I think I've learned more on this podcast than I've learned on any podcast about anything. Just because you guys really know all the stuff about Disney Cruise Line, so I feel a lot more educated now, and I feel a lot more relaxed now. I might actually, my wife might actually listen to an episode of the podcast to hear about the Disney cruise stuff, so she can know more.
Can I give you one last piece of advice?
Yeah, one last tip. Yeah, let's do it.
Advice: don't try to do everything, Tom.
Oh, that's actually, I'm going to try to do everything. What are you talking
about? I thought your last piece of advice was going to be, Tom, don't forget to buy a placeholder while you're.
Oh, that is
Disney
a good
cruise.
Well, okay,
that's a good one, Brian.
I've been talking about this. I know what happened when I bought DVC. Like you just kind of in a weird way get addicted to it, and then so this is my first Disney cruise. I said to my wife, I'm like, this is going to be a problem. Like, I just know ahead of time. Like, as soon as we get on that boat and we're there for a couple of days, I'm going to be like, yeah, when's our next one? Like this is it's going to be a thing. And I just know it because my wife and I like cruising. And as long as my daughter enjoys it, like, I mean, we're probably going to be we're like you said, we're going to book that next one.
Yeah. She's the perfect age too.
Just as soon as you can get in the app, just head in and buy your placeholder. Because it's all app based now. So you just buy it in the app, and it make sure you take a screenshot of the confirmation, because sometimes things don't go through and they will honor it if you can show them you bought it. If you have no record of buying it, then they were like, well, sorry, you didn't get it on board. So yeah.
Nice. Okay, well, that's good. That's a good tip. So before we wrap up, where can people find you guys? I know we have a lot of overlapped listeners, by the way, but I'm sure there's some listeners that are listening to this that don't know you guys, and then some of your listeners that don't know us. So,
for sure. So the easiest way to find us is to head to DCLDuo.com. We've got everything there, links off to our YouTube, our podcast, both of our podcasts now, all of our social media. Everything is over there, DCLDuo.com. You can find our podcast anywhere you want to listen to podcasts. Just search for DCL Duo, 2 words. And we have a Substack newsletter now. You can find it at substack.com/DCL Duo. We've got our YouTube channel at youtube.com/DCL Duo. We do a live show over there every Monday night at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I should say most nights. There are nights that we opt not to do the live show. And so that's where you can find social media, DCL_Duo on Threads and Instagram, and every place else it's DCL Duo run together. So there you go.
Nice. Thank you guys so much for coming on. This was awesome. Yeah. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got this together. And I believe after I go on my cruise, I'm going to come on your show and I'm talking about my experience, right?
Yeah.
We want to hear the the before here, all the questions he had, but I want to hear how it landed. If you did in fact find it to be enjoyable, and how your kids liked it.
I want to hear about how your daughter liked it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I think there's a 0% chance that I won't enjoy this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's any possible way, unless like we have to evacuate the boat via lifeboats. Like that's the only, even then I might still be into it.
Abandoned ship would be, that's like you don't want to hear abandoned
from
ship.
A ride.
Yeah.
No, we don't want to abandon ship. But I'm just saying, like, there's very little way that this could go wrong, I feel like, and I feel like there's no way that my daughter's not going to enjoy it. So, but thank you guys so much. This was really great, and we really enjoyed having you on. So,
so as usual for us, you can always find us at welcomehomepodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys and hearing trip reports and questions and all that from our listeners. You can also find us on social media. On Facebook as Welcome Home Podcast, YouTube is Welcome Home Podcast, and Instagram is Welcome Home Pics. Make sure you check out our Facebook group, Welcome Home Disney Waitlist, where we talk about all the stuff on the show, and we get things like listener questions. Some of the ones for this episode came from our waitlist group, and just fun Disney conversation. It's just a great place to have other people that you can talk about Disney stuff with. So please check it out. And if you want to help support the show, you can go to store.welcomehomepodcast.com. You can check out all of our different merch on there. We've got all the usual, the mugs, the shirts. If you need a fanny pack, we all need fanny packs. I think that they're hot again. You got to get one.
Crossbody bag.
Yeah, you can wear it that way too. But you can get yourself a fanny pack on there. Similarly, we also have a Patreon, which you can go to patreon.com/welcomehomepod and check out our different levels of Patreon support, which have an exclusive Patreon logo that you cannot get on the store. And all our Patreon supporters get access to the Discord server, which is yet another place that we talk about everything that we enjoy about Disney. And again, just random topics,
random life things. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Last but not least, if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere that you can, leave us a 5-star review, leave us those 5 stars. It just helps us, get into the algorithm and, be more visible out there, and, makes us happy. We've said it before, the stars make Tom happy. They get a little twinkle in his eyes.
Listen,
so
it's my birthday this week. If you want to give me a birthday gift, give me a 5-star review. That'll make me really happy. We actually have one, Trevor. I got to give a new one.
All right.
Yeah. So this is from the Andrew Raven. The Andrew Raven. Okay, cool. And this is a 5-star, consistently great. Thanks for all the time and effort you guys put into this and have for years. High quality shows, genuine hosts, unique perspectives. Kudos. What a nice review that was. I love those reviews. That makes me happy.
Yes. So. Yeah, I like that. But also, we don't just read the good stuff. We like to hear what everyone thinks about the show, because, we like to know what works and what doesn't. So
if you're going to trash us, just still give me 5 stars. You can
still give us 5 stars.
Trash us. Yeah. Trash us in the review. Just, give the 5 stars. Oh man. Please, if you want to give me a birthday gift this week, best birthday gift ever would be a 5-star review. So the other thing too, again, if you want to join us for our 300th episode, if you're in the area, I first of all, there was a couple of our Discord folks and patrons that were talking about flying from far distances to come to the 300th episode, which is extraordinarily humbling. I love you guys. You're amazing. I just can't even. You guys are cool. I can't even put it in words. Honestly, it's just amazing that anybody would go to those lengths. And I mean, even when we did the meetup in Disney World, a couple of years ago, people flew from all over the country, and it was so cool. I mean,
it's wild that people come to see us. But
because I'm like, Damon and I are not that cool. Okay, like we're just dudes, man. Like we're not like there's nothing cool about us. So like you don't need to fly across the country to see us. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe. So if you want to join us, by the way, go to our Facebook group, Welcome Home Disney Waitlist. The link is out there to register, and like I said, we'll get a link out there soon that's a little bit easier for people to get onto, and you have plenty of time to register. We still have a good amount of room, so but don't forget to subscribe to Welcome Home Podcast so you can be reminded every time we release a new episode. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spotify, YouTube Music, just about any podcast app that's out there. You can find us, and if there's one that you want to listen to us on and you can't find us, let me know and I will add it. So but I doubt it. We're everywhere. So just a reminder to our listeners, Welcome Home Podcast is for entertainment only. We are not employed by the Walt Disney Company. As such, all opinions we express on the show are our own, so please contact your DVC representative or Disney cast member for more information about anything we talked about today. Huge thank you to our sponsor, DVC Resale Market, for sponsoring this episode and being a longtime partner of ours. Please check them out for any of your DVC needs. We love them. They are great. Please check them out. Join us next time for more Disney Parks discussion. Of course, more DVC talk. We hope to see you all real soon.
This is Skipper Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit a chair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl, eating